give glory and honor and praise and unto the
Listening to Lagoon Radio.
Top of the morning to you once again, officially welcoming you to Lagoon Radio. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being a part of the show. This is the newspaper review here on Lagoon Radio, and it's still the 8th day in the month of September 2021. Yes, our time flies. We're on the 8th day, and it's still the newspaper review here on Lagoon Radio. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria, on Twitter and on Instagram at Lagoonradio.Ng. To be a part of the show, you can also download the app to listen to us live on your Google Play Store or your Apple Store, depending on the device that you're using to listen to us from wherever you are in the world. So download the app on your Google Play Store or your Apple Store to listen live, and you can also listen via the link www.LagoonRadio.Ng to connect with us all the way from wherever you are. It's still the newspaper review, and with me in the studio is Favor. I also have in front of me, I have Covenant, I have Timileyi, and I have DJ Sharp in the studio. We'll be doing the talking together and looking all across different newspapers and taking top headlines just for your hearings. So do well to stay attentive to the top headlines for today. My name is Olumakaiye, and we'll be kicking off this morning with the Daily Asset newspaper. And the major headline here says Buhari tax service chiefs on tactics to end insecurity. And the writer under that says Nigerian living in fears. Akere Dolu says. Well, I really don't know the tactics that they want to do actually concerning insecurity, because I don't know what other measure they want to put in place concerning insecurity. And yes, there's no denial that 90% of Nigerians are living in fear. So I just pray that, I don't know how this fear will go though, but then I just pray that it goes.
I want to believe the earlier they tackle this insecurity, the better for us.
The better for us. And the next headline under that says COVID-19, 3.6 million Nigerians get first dose of vaccine, says federal government. This figure is shocking me. It's shocking me, because how are we sure that these 3.6 million Nigerians have actually taken the first dose? And, talking about the effect, who has taken the COVID-19 vaccine here? Anybody? I don't even see if it is where. And then we didn't know the effect coming from the first dose of those that took the vaccine, but we pray that it will all keep every one of us safe. And on the top of the newspaper, it says NNPC not ready for IPO till 2024, says Kiari. Wow. You can find out on page. Is any page here?
The story is on the front page.
Okay, yeah. I think that is all about the story on the front page of that newspaper. And underneath that, it says that bandits abduct deputy provost's children, one in Castina. You can read up more on page 26 of the Daily Asset newspaper. Internet will not affect our operations, says INEC. This is on page 34, but then how will internet not affect the operations? If you don't have stable internet, how would it not affect INEC, like electoral processes? And I'm hearing that 2023 elections will be electronically internet based.
Of course, and internet is like the major thing
exactly
to carry out this operation. Without internet, I'm not sure you can have a successful.
It's quite shocking, honestly.
Even if you are not doing online something, we all need internet.
Exactly, and there must be strong internet backing for an election that is going to be in Nigeria. Well, you can read up more on page 34 of the Daily Asset newspaper. Plateau lawmakers flag of sum of 232 million naira road projects. Read up on page 4 of the Daily Asset newspaper. provides ranches before ban on open grazing, Masari tells the federal government. NLC begins review of the international and Nigerian labor laws. This can be found on page 1 of the Daily Asset newspaper. And finally, lawmakers condemn killing of villagers in Niger. Page 4 of the Daily Asset newspaper. Favor, what do you have for us this morning?
All right, for the Daily Sun newspaper, sorry, just give me a minute. The Daily Sun newspaper, just beside the header there, we have Buhari orders sustained action to end abductions and killings. And the writer under that says, we are still testing, what is that? Tucano's jet, says the minister. And you can find that on page 6 of the Daily Sun newspaper. PDP considers Okowa Finitri Autumn as convention chair. You can continue reading more of that story on page 8 of Daily Sun newspaper. And boldly written on the front page, doctors give conditions to end 6-week-old strike. 6 Osibanjo's intervention. Federal government denies owing them and hold government accountable for industrial action, says Johesu. And you can read more on the story on page 6 of the newspaper.
How can you even deny owing these people?
It's
It's not an individual. They are coming together as a collective. I mean, they are coming together as one,
body.
as the body. Yes, to fight the government, and all they can say is they are denying them of being owed. Is that possible?
Basically, the federal government is saying that they are lying. That they are all
Honestly.
liars. That's what it means.
Who seems to be a liar here to me is the federal government. Well,
Exactly.
if it seems like an insult, well, it's just the fact.
All right, we have bandit strike in Kaduna community, abduct 18. And the rider under that says, label them terrorists, says Akeredolu. How to end plateau killings, Bon Guam. You can find more on the stories on pages 4, pages 7, and page 26 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Court grants Nnamdi Kanu leave to serve process on army and others. More on this story on page 4. Senate begins public hearing on Kalu's motion on illegal mining and gold smuggling. You can find more on this story on page 8. Anambra gubernatorials, INEC to display new voters register tomorrow. And the rider under that says, insist on deployment of technology. You can find more on the story on page 7. Igboho versus federal government DSS. Court adjourns case to September 17 for ruling and judgment. I'm really surprised that this case is still on. It has been on for a very, very long time.
Dragging, definitely.
If they can drag this thing till
Should have expected
The end of the year.
should have expected this to happen in the first place. You didn't expect
That's
it to just die down like that.
it should normally. Normal jurisdiction process. I don't think this happens abroad, where a case
But of
continues
course,
for
this is
months and
Nigeria,
months
so
and
you
months.
should, that's why I say you should expect something like this.
This is Nigeria.
Are they not tired? Even the judge
Honestly.
himself, is he not tired? You can find more on the story on page 5, and at the very bottom of the page, NLC begins review of Nigeria's labor laws. I pray they review it properly. You can find more on the story on page 3 of the Daily Sun newspaper, and that is all that I have.
All right, moving on to the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. At the very top, cholera claims 2,141 and affects 65,145. And the story is right on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Tension in Imo over scarcity of petroleum product, closure of banks. The story is right on page 29. I have no anointed candidate in Lasso VC race, says Sanwo-Olu. The story is right on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. Zamfara gunmen are terrorists, not bandits, Akeredolu says. And the right under that says, end selective abductions, killing in North-South, North-Central. Buhari charges security chiefs. The story is right on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. PDP governors meet today ahead parties neck. The story is right on page 4. This is in respect of the 2023 election. And of course, ACF staff slumps dies in office. He slumped and died. The story is right on page 30 of the Nigerian Tribune. Bandits kidnap 18 in Kaduna community. Page 29 of the paper. And sexual harassment. OAU dismisses another lecturer. The story is right on page 2. It's going to be an interesting one. You might want to find out about that. 76 million Nigerian youth or adults are illiterate.
That did not sit
76
well.
million Nigerian adults are illiterate, says federal government.
I don't
And the
understand.
rider under that says 1.6 billion learners, learners affected by COVID-19 pandemic, says UNESCO. Okay, let's come to the number of adults that are illiterate in the country.
I don't understand what they actually use to calculate this number of people. I don't know if it's by education or the skilled labor, but then I just feel like this assumption is totally wrong. Fine, we have uneducated people, but then in their being uneducated, they are literates. We can't say being illiterate is you being able to read and write. So that doesn't mean that you are totally disabled or all of that. You don't even know anything. So I feel
What
like,
about those who can read and write in other languages?
and they didn't even go to school, they didn't finish tertiary institutions and all of that. So, but
I was discussing
federal
with my
government
partner.
always say
But
this.
experts that said this, so we have to believe them.
So federal government is now expert. But I was discussing with my partner this morning. What brought about the conversation was Yahoo, and then how they spend their money. They draw attentions to the EFCC, the police, and that makes them to come after them. And we come to a point where we had to talk about them being educated or not. And it was like, these people, they didn't go to school. I said, I won't be surprised that 90% of these people, they actually went to school. They are graduates.
Exactly.
I know a few people that I'm close to. They went not because they didn't go to school.
Do you know what?
So are you going to say those? Are you classifying those people too as illiterate?
Shall we actually saying something here? Some of them did not go to school, but yet they have this knowledge.
Knowledge. Yeah, I said that too. I said they didn't go to school yet. They are very good at this thing they do.
So the
They are
conclusion
very,
now
very
is that
good.
the fact that somebody goes to school does not mean the person is illiterate, and
Or
the
an
fact that
illiterate.
the person did not go to school does not make the person an illiterate. There are some things that you can
We
learn
even
outside
add
the four corners.
we
If
have
you
educated
You
illiterates.
cannot do
Yes.
We have educated
And
illiterates.
that's what Favor is saying.
True. That the
You
fact
went
that you
to
went to school
school
doesn't mean
you're
They're
illiterate.
still acting
Exactly.
like you don't even.
Honestly.
While those that did not even go can do things that you cannot do.
Exactly.
That's it.
Okay, so the story is right on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. And Lagos PDP crisis, court declares no vacancy in 6 key positions. The right under that says declares November 13, 2019 election unconstitutional. But the story is right on page 5. 500 billion naira suit. Court allows viewing of DSS invasion of Igboho's residence during proceeding. The right under that says a clip of Igboho advocating for Yoruba nation also viewed. The story is right on page 4. We've got a few more on the front page. You might want to take a glance at it on social media.
Okay, moving to Nigerian News Direct. Man on the front page, man decrees high electricity tariff in Kano. You can find that on page 16. SEC approves Union Diagonics exist from AGS, and that is also on page 14. Sexual harassment, OAU dismisses another lecturer. You can find that on page 1. In federal school, do you think this thing can stop?
Honestly,
Like,
I can't.
All these lecturer harassing students and all. I know
to
it's
continue
actually in
to
private
be-
school. But
What?
It's still in
Oh, yeah.
private school.
Private
too.
schools.
Yes.
Wow.
But it's not as rampant as
Federal
federal
schools.
school. Yeah. God
I've
help
never
us.
really heard of that in private
Private
schools.
school, yeah.
anyways,
But
it
it's
might
not- it's
happen,
really
it
not
might happen.
always
Yes.
brought to the
Yeah,
limelight.
that's what I was about to say. That in private schools they have this secret. I don't know what they call it.
Yes.
It just
But
goes
some things
in.
don't go out at
Yes.
all. I know some things that happen in my own school.
Even
that I
in
need to
Like,
know
mine.
about.
if you say that side, you they be like, nah, like,
In my school, it
Until you
happened
enter
and the
that
lecturer was sent away.
I did not hear.
In
Quiet
federal
outside.
schools, are they really sent away? Say lie.
Not really.
No, they
will
don't.
say They suspend them from some months.
And you still
they
see
have
them
to
roaming
come
about
back.
in schools.
Yeah.
And that is even if they are going to say about it. That is if the lecturer is not someone that is actually high, like they have this
Yeah, the
backup
power.
everywhere. Maybe like you want to report.
I believe
they used
they
to
just
say one
dismiss them
language.
on
You want to
papers.
report.
They just say dismissed on.
They say
newspapers,
that you
but
want
in
to
real life,
report
they are
goat
still
to
there.
goat or something. You want to report dog to dog, something like that. That people you are going to report to say they are like
also
him,
the same
so they are not
person.
going to do anything about it.
It is well.
Okay, on the front page we have strike. Only illegally recruited doctors excluded from monthly salary. Federal government. And under it we have strike truce with Joesu as NMA calls on neck orders to prevent sector collapse. You can read about that on page 3.
I wish we could talk more on this.
Yeah.
Honestly, the category of this only illegally recruited doctors.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
How can you
Was there at any
recruit doctor
point they
illegally in the first instance?
Who recruited
Like-
them? Who? Did
Or,
they- did
or
they
is
jump
this
from the
another
sky?
way?
know
Of,
that-
or is this another way of twisting the whole thing around?
The categorization is totally.
So that means
These
you
are
go
people
to
that-
hospital now.
that-
Before you see that, just
that
ask
helping
that,
humanity.
please, can I see your certificate?
Yeah, how were you
Is it
recruited,
government?
sir? Did you jump from heaven here?
So you know doctor that will treat you. Okay, continue. Ocean government inaugurate 360 newly recruited Amotekun officers. You can continue to read that on
I
page
hope they were legally
21.
recruited, sha.
Okay, and we prioritize security over economic benefit. Pantamium. You can continue to read that on page 13, and that's all on Nigerian News Direct.
Oh,
We've got quite some papers, but we might not be able to take them. The likes of Nigerian pilot, living in fear. We've talked about that, and of course we have the leadership newspaper. 2023 election permutation changes as North Central lobbies APC, PDP for tickets, and some more stories on the front page. And of course we have the New Telegraph. Gumi blames federal government for rise in kidnapping banditry, says military force against bandits won't solve insurgency, explains why Zamfara is epicenter of crime, overwhelmed governors prodding citizens self-defense, says General Ikwomwem and others. This you find on page 2. And no doctor is owed salary, says federal government. That's another one. Government Johesu broker truce as union embraces dialogue. COVID-19 Delta variant twice deadlier than previous strain. NPHCDA. The stories you can find on pages 3 and 5 of the New Telegraph. You have the This Day newspaper, and of course you have the Blueprint newspaper. Because of our time, I might not be able to take them. The Business Day as well is there. You might take a chance to go through them online.
Yes, and that is it on the newspaper review this beautiful morning. Thanks for staying with us. Thanks for being a part of the show. Don't forget to follow up on all our social media platforms on Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria, on Twitter and on Instagram at Lagoonradio.Ng. Do well to download the app on your Google Play Store or your Apple Store, depending on the device that you're using, to listen to us from wherever you are in the world. Thanks for staying with me, Favor, Convenant, Timley, and DJ Sharp. My name is Alau Olumakaiye. Good morning.
You are listening to Lagoon Radio.